Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
I'm Egbert, the owner of this station. Check out my website at egbert.com. That's E-G-G-B-U-R-T, egbert.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
Lots of things to talk about this morning. John, I'm going to pick something from the johncombest.com today's thing, which you didn't bring up in the top three, but the Francis Howell School District. Okay, can we talk about that for a minute?
Oh, yeah.
Now, can I expose the fact that you have a link to the Francis Howell School District? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, let's not go into detail, but sure, I have a child in the Francis Howell School District.
Okay, and I will tell you my link to the Francis Howell School District, that I had 4 kids go through the Francis Howell School District, 3 of them who graduated, 1 who didn't, but that's a whole other story. Okay, is this now turned into the liberal media piling on to the Francis Howell School Board? Because it seems as though the only stories that come out, and they have a negative, let's call it taint to them, are stories that appear in the liberal media, meaning the Post-Dispatch and St. Louis Public Radio.
Sure. I think that's entirely accurate. Yeah, that's a good way to summarize it, Brad.
Oh, okay, now, having said that, I'm going to I'm going to essentially, shoot myself in the foot and go back and do a 180 on that. I'm getting a little bit annoyed with the super conservative, hey, we're going to straighten out this school district. And it seems as though all they care about is books in the library and what video programs the kids watch, and are they doing, the 1619 project, that kind of stuff. I mean, once again, where you look at the United States on the world stage and you look at how our educational system ranks on the world stage, and in an era where it's becoming increasingly more technical, where, there are extremely complicated issues that are facing us, electronically, computer-wise, media-wise, chemically-wise, all this kind of stuff. Why isn't anybody really talking about, hey, we want to strengthen our academic core. We want to make sure that these kids get a great, background in math and science. And for those kids who don't necessarily want to go on to more higher education, we want to give them an avenue where they can learn how to become a machinist or a HVAC tech or, something like that. What am I missing?
Well, I think the point of some of these conservative parents, Brad, is that indeed we should spend more time on the core academic subjects and less about gender fluid lessons, less about race victimhood, things like that. I think that's the entire point of some of these conservative parents.
Well, but they don't talk about it. I think
they do, Brad. Here's the thing. I'm not there at the school board meetings, and I don't think you are either. But when we read a St. Louis Public Radio piece that says, "Can you believe these parents are fighting against gender-neutral bathrooms, and they're making such a big deal about this?" You're relying, Brad, on St. Louis Public Radio coverage and St. Louis Post-Dispatch coverage of those meetings. Of course the liberal outlets are going to focus on gender bender stuff and race victimhood stories, and they're not going to give a fair shake to what conservative parents are saying. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well,
you're looking at the coverage of these meetings through the prism of these liberal outlets.
I see exactly what you're saying, but I'm going to tell you you're wrong, because you know why? In their own words, they didn't talk about this. And in their own words, meaning me listening to their campaign ads on 97.1, they never mentioned academics. It was all about, we're going to get the library cleaned out, and we're going to get this, what do they call it? The
critical race theory.
Critical race theory. We're going to get rid of the critical race theory. Never once did any of them say, we want to make these kids smarter. We want to give them better academic, background. We want to give them a background in math. We're going to work hard on the sciences. Never once did they say that. These are their own words. What were their campaign promises? We're going to go through the library and check all the books. See, that's where you and I disagree on this, because I have been to candidate forums. I've heard these people talk, and they never, ever talk about academic qualifications. It's all about this crazy, weird stuff, and it's to the point where it's like, okay, hold on a minute.
Maybe, so Brad, there's a chance that I'm wrong about this, and I mean, you've been to these things. I've also heard these candidates, talking on the radio, as I know you have too, about how I hear them talk about a return to basics and avoiding all this other, rainbow mafia crap. But maybe you and I hear it differently. But I think you made a valid point in that the election, and that sometimes the pendulum swings, and you have teachers unions groups that are super organized and they win an election. And then they go so far and the district gets so progressive and so rainbow fruity that conservatives win the next election, and then conservatives go too far. And then here in 2024, we had two, you could call them establishment NEA teacher types, teacher union types, defeat two very strong conservative candidates. Now, I would point out that the conservative candidates could have used more yard signs and more 97.1 radio commercials, but you see a pendulum swing back to kind of the middle, so to speak. I think you're right about that.
Well, the interesting part of that was that they were so sure they were going to win. And I'm not denigrating Mark Cox in 97.1 because of the fact that I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mark Cox. But he was dumbfounded by the fact that he had his whole candidate slate. He's here. You go to my website, go to the 97.1 website, and you can look at the Mark Cox candidate of school board. Every one of them lost. Every single one of them.
That's true.
And it's to the point where it's like, okay, maybe we shouldn't listen to Mark Cox anymore. But see, he was pounding the same podium. He was pounding, we don't want this CRT, we don't want this, we don't want that. And yet when I see my hero more and more every day is Mike Rowe. That guy's my hero because he tells it like it is. He tells it like it is. That, and matter of fact, he's got a thing that is he doing this with Dave Ramsey? I can't remember. I think he's doing this with Dave Ramsey, where they're talking about, here Biden wants to get rid of all this college debt, and Mike Rowe is saying, look at the problem the government is creating. They're still they're still loaning people to go to college for worthless degrees, okay? Yeah. Perfect example. If someone said, if a 18-year-old kid listening to the show called me up and say, Brad, I've had this happen before, believe it or not. I've actually had parents call me and say, my son's thinking about possibly going into the media business. What do you think? I go, to be honest with you, you know what I always tell them?
What's that?
Get an accounting degree. And they'll go like,
okay.
They'll go, what? I go, get a degree that is universally helpful to them, can help them on a day-to-day basis with their, daily finances. And not only that, can help them. It's the kind of job that if you have a guy apply for a job, and let's say it's even like on the production floor or something like that, and the guy says, by the way, I have an accounting degree. You've got an accounting degree. I mean, that guy is someone, or gal is someone I will look at the future if I'm running that company for promotions, because I think to myself, this person understands the precept of basis, or the basis of business, meaning that if we don't make money, we go out of business. You know what I mean? To the point.
Yeah, and I would, let me interrupt, Brad, but I would add other things, and I think you agree with this. The idea of, HVAC or being a pipe fitter or a plumber, something that's largely recession-proof, that's an actual skill.
Right.
Where you don't depend on a fluke economy to succeed.
Right. Okay, second thing. A bunch of stuff to talk about this morning. Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals. Did you see this? It happened, I believe. Today is Thursday. I think this happened late Tuesday in Kansas. Did you see this story? It's probably on JohnCombest.com.
Can you be a little more vague? Does it have to do with the legislators going out with the members of the team for dinner?
It has to do with the fact that the state of Kansas essentially said, hey, whatever your new stadium is going to cost, we'll give you 70% of that. They'll loan them 70%. Once again, I'm thinking to myself, this just sucks. And once again, it's not even our state. But what bothers me, once again, is where are Where are our leaders here in the St. Louis area? Where are the Tashara? I kidded about this early this week, where Tashara Jones and Sam Page should get MoDOT to stop I-70 right there at Goodfellow and stand right on I-70, have a press conference. Maybe they can get Reverend Sharpton to come in and block traffic for him, stuff like that. He's really good at that. Block off traffic, face to the west, and call this press conference as saying, we know that there's a good chance that the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals could move to Kansas. We want to stop that. We have a dome stadium already NFL-grade dome stadium ready. Matter of fact, we have a world champion team that used to play in that stadium. The lockers still have that world, that Super Bowl smell to them. Everything's here. And not only that, between the two of us, and this is there's scripted. There's a loving glance between Tashara Jones and Sam Page.
Yeah, ooh, I like this. Very romantic. Go ahead, Brad.
They smile at each other, and they touch each other on the shoulder. Right hand to left shoulder, right hand to left shoulder. And then they turn back to the camera, and they go, "We got cash in the bank. Kansas City Royals, Kansas City Chiefs, come on down." And people are going to go, well, no, hold on a minute. We already have the Kansas City or the St. Louis Cardinals. Then St. Louis can say, yeah, but this is going to put St. Louis in the big times. Like, for example, New York has the Mets and the Yankees.
Yeah,
Los Angeles has the Dodgers and the Angels. St. Louis, once upon a time, was the proud home of the Cardinals and the Browns. We are bringing back the momentum, the gravitas that is St. Louis, with not one but two Major League Baseball teams and an NFL team that has world champion heritage, the Super Bowl winners. And matter of fact, we're going to bring right here to St. Louis, to the liberal capital of the world, Harrison Butker, who can every single day give a speech that everybody in the St. Louis area will love. What do you think, John?
Yes. And then the camera pans around St. Louis. You see people in their homes. You see the average carjacker put down his red hot Riplets and large grape soda funded by taxpayers. And he's like, yes, more cars to steal. And then if Major League Baseball tries to block it, we could always just say that the Royals will play at Mike Carter Field, which is technically not St. Louis City. It's a different municipality. I think it's great, Brad. I mean, whatever we can do to keep the Chiefs from moving to Lenexa. I think we should just mortgage our future. And here's the thing: I saw a Post-Dispatch headline today that Tashara Jones is identifying the families that get their universal basic income.
Yeah.
Did you see this headline, Brad?
Yeah. I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to make a comment about that.
St. Louis paying guaranteed basic income to 540 families. It's under fire in a lawsuit. Now, I don't know who would want – I think it's great that the city can choose which 540 cities get to just, chill out and lay in a hammock and dodge bullets in St. Louis City. But I don't know what the vetting process is for those families, but I'd like to get in on that.
Well, it's like the crazy stuff that's going on. Like, you thought Lori Lightfoot was a nutbag in Chicago. The new guy's even worse, where, his whole thing is the reparations thing. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you think we got crime problems here in St. Louis every weekend in Chicago. It's like the murder count and the people hit by bullets being stray or intended. It just like it dwarfs our numbers every weekend. And what's he talking about? Reparations? I don't understand it. It's like your house is on fire and your next door neighbor comes over and complains that your grass hasn't been cut for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It's like like, okay, can't you see my house? Yeah, but it's most important. Your lawn is like the gateway to your home. And if your grass is not cut and not neat and tidy, you know what? We might even sick the HOA on you. We might have the HOA president come and knock on your door, and you go, yeah, but I won't have a door soon because my house is burned. We don't care. We have to make our lawns look nice. Get what I'm saying?
I do. And I mean, first of all, you got guys like Brad Hildebrand that let their grass grow to be 5 inches, which is ridiculous when it should be trim like AstroTurf. And secondly, Brad, I think it's important that we touch on this before we go to break, is that I'm not sure if you know, but there will be no print edition of the Post-Dispatch on July 4th. They just announced this because the media needs to take more days off. And I know that you're wildly wrong about this every time we talk about it. But just so you know, Brad, I know you would be looking for the print edition of the Post-Dispatch on July 4th, but they're going to sneak in a little bit more rest time for their staff. So I don't know. I know you'll be a total boomer about this, but I think it's great. I think they should take the whole week off, Brad.
Oh, by the way, Post-Dispatch, I just saw this. This came up in the FCC database. The Post-Dispatch is petitioning for a license for a radio station in St. Louis.
No way. I didn't know that. Are they going to try to take over the crap transmitter and be in charge of, not to be confused with guide wires, but guy wires?
No. It's going to be a talk station, and they've already applied for the call letters. It's WIMP. That's the call letters they're going to have.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Real quickly, one last thing here. Vanille Ice. Interesting story read this morning about Vanille Ice, Ice Baby, and actually a fascinating story because how he made his millions was not necessarily in performing. And it's sort of a fascinating story is that when he started to make a lot of money and he was on a bunch of different tours, he had his own tour and he was like opening for other different groups, he decided, and this is sort of interesting, he didn't like to stay in hotels, so he bought houses all over the country. And he just bought houses and to stay. But the crazy part of it is he never went to the houses. So 3 or 4 years later, after his fame started to decline and he needed a little bit of money, he decided, and most of these houses he bought sight unseen, never went there, never saw them, anything like that. And he decided, let's sell them all. So he hired a real estate agent and he made millions on this. So see, now he sort of declares himself the accidental millionaire. And now he talks about this is what he does. He just buys houses. He had that TV show for a while where he was fixing up houses. And remember, he got in trouble. He got arrested. He got arrested for going into a neighbor's house, which he thought was abandoned, which it wasn't, and he took some stuff like that. But I found this fascinating that him and Del Walmsley should get together because of the fact that I find it so interesting that people who that I know who, and I think this is sort of like the Millionaire Store, there are sponsors on this station. I won't identify who they are, but there are sponsors on the station who are millionaires next door who you would never, ever, ever, ever guess. And part of the reason is, you know why? They own rental homes. And
that's right. And when folks listen to our show on YouTube, every time you mention the Millionaire Next Door, Brad, I include a link on the YouTube page so that folks can click on it. Also, we would be remiss if we didn't point out the collaboration between Del Walmsley and Vanille Ice. Vanille Ice wrote many songs about Del Walmsley's hard scrabble gang fights and floor set. Will it ever stop, yo? I don't know. Go to Fitz's and let's go. Wait, it was Fritz's. Never mind. I stepped on my own punchline. But anyway, Vanille Ice has written several songs about how hard it is growing up in Old Town Florissant. What it's like sometimes to go to be walking through those Catholic churches at the Catholic carnivals in the 1960s and get jumped by a bunch of priests. I don't know. It's part of Vanilla Ice's canon.
Oh my God! They used to have to call out the National Guard for the Valley of Flowers festival. That was.
They would. Yeah. Well, they would also see that there would be a car where there was not every square inch covered by a flower, and then they got kicked down, and then there were gang fights. It was horrible.
Man, that rough. What do you call it? Hard scrabble, North County.
It was a hard scrabble existence. You had the Egan boys always jumping people in back alleys. At Crest Bowl, they'd take you back there and drop a bowling ball on there. You know what?
John, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to give you the ultimate compliment. You could be a stand-up comedian because what you do is, to me, a stand-up comedian brings little tiny nuggets of people's lives and puts them into this crazy, weird perspective. Whenever you mention, it always cracks me up because this is one of your favorite go-to lines. Red Hot Riplets. Riplets. It always cracks.
Hey, shout out to the old Vienna company or whoever who makes those.
Do you know they used to be made right down the street from my old office?
No way, really? Were you the inspiration for Red Hot?
Well, one time, I shouldn't tell this story, but one time, literally, they had a plant right off a page in 170. Okay, and one time the Red Hots got so hot, the place caught on fire. Literally, they were.
Are you serious?
They had a huge fire. The thing. What do you call it? What do you call it? Where they throw the what do you call it? Where they the big fryer pan or whatever it was, caught on fire. And there was pretty nasty fire. And the joke was, man, those are some really red Hot Riplets. Okay. But
now, you were in the parking lot trying to steal the grease to put it in your Mercedes diesel, Brad, that you had just gotten.
I never bought that. I should have.
From,
okay.
Page and Lindbergh.
I shouldn't have told that story. Okay, we got to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?